Hello, welcome to another video. Today is going to be Foundation Tier Paper 2 from the recent Year 11 March mocks. Hope everyone is staying safe, staying indoors, keeping away from others, etc. I know it's a really weird time to be alive, but for the greater good and all that, at least for me it's coincided with the release of Disney Plus, so I've made it through lots of Mandalorian, etc. and trying to learn Spanish and change some light bulbs, so that's good. Right, without further ado, so it's a bit of a weird paper this time, so let's fold it like that. So first of all, we've got our few multiple choice questions. Circle the number that is one more than a cube number. So a cube number means when you multiply a number by itself and then by itself again. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, etc. So there are our first four cube numbers, so the only one that is one more than it is 28. Circle the fraction which is equal to 0.75. 0.75 is 3/4, so I'm looking for the one that's equal to 3/4. So 3/4, if you multiply both by 3 you get 9/12. You could put it like 0.75 is 75%, so 75 over 100, which simplifies, so that one again simplifies to that, etc, etc. Here is a number line. Which number is in A? So we've got 3 there, we've got 4 there, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines to get from 3 to 4, so each one is 0.2, so that means it's going to be 3.2. Next, how many millimetres are equal to 4.56 metres? So the word milli is generally to do with 1,000. Generally it is to do with 1,000. So 1 metre is 1,000 millimetres because there's 10 in every centimetre. So we're going to do 4.56 metres times by 1,000, so it's 4,560. That's the multiple choice out of the way. So next, which is longer, a quarter of a day or 400 minutes? It's a lot of time to think about which is longer at the moment with all the hours that we're stuck in our houses at the moment. So a quarter of a day, well, one day is 24 hours, so a quarter of 24 is 6 hours. 6 hours is 6 times 60 minutes, which is 360 minutes. 400 is greater than 360. The other way to think about it, 400 divided by 60, say how many hours, so it's 6 hours and 40 minutes. So either way, 400 is the longer. Use your calculator to work out, so it's just a matter of putting this exactly into the calculator. The general errors we see, people putting 2 there instead of 3 because that's cubed, people writing it in the calculator as this, so having the fraction under the whole thing. So just make sure it looks exactly like that. You're looking for using your fraction button, which is the one that looks like 2 rectangles above each other with a line in between them. Use the direction pad to actually scroll between them. You've got your x squared button, your x cubed button, so just make sure it looks exactly the same. It's very easy to go wrong and have it look like something else and obviously get the wrong answer. Write down your full calculator display. Again, you're not rounding, it's asking you full calculator, so therefore that was all the digits on the calculator when I typed it in. This is a bit of a weird question, this next bit. It says, is your answer to part A sensible? Well, if you've done it right, yes, it is, because the calculator tells you so, but it's asking you to check by rounding each to the nearest whole number, so you must show you're working. So 3.15, 3, 8.7 goes to 9, 4.916 goes to 5, because we always round to one significant figure there, and then we just look at what's next to it to either determine to round up or round off. So now we've rounded, we've got 3 cubed divided by 9, add 5 squared. So 3 cubed is 27, because 3 times 3 times 3. Divide that by 9 gives me 3. 3 add 5 squared, 5 squared, 25. So we've got 3 add 25, 28. 27.759, etc. is pretty close to 28. So yes, it's a sensible answer. Right, our next one is a bank statement. Bank statements are questions that often throw people off just because they're not used to the language. Credit means money that's coming into your account, extra money. Debit means money that's leaving your account, money you've spent, etc., money that's going out of your account. And then balance is how much money you have in total at that particular time. So I know I've got £45.98 in my account after I've had to spend £110.34. It's also, if you look at what the category is, it should be able to tell you whether it's going to be extra money or less money. So council tax money you're going to have to pay out. So my balance at the start would have been £110.34 greater than what we had there. So £45.98 add £110.34 means I started with £156.32. I've then gone for a refund, so I've gone from £45.98 to £186.01. So I've had to add on 140.03. I've just done that by subtracting there. And then finally my salary, my wages go in, so again it's extra money, so £186.01 add £130.29, and that means in my bank account now at the end I have £1,616.30. Make sure on your calculator, if you do this, it would show it as 1616.3. Make sure you give it as 2 digits. It's money, so if I give it like that, I'm in danger of losing a mark there. Make sure money is always given as 2 digits after the decimal point. Right, next question. Question 8. Interior angle. So interior means inside. Regular means all the sides are the same, which means all the inside angles are going to be the same as well. So it's 108. Work out the sum. Sum just means add. The 5 reflex means angles are over 180, angles at the vertices, corners of a regular pentagon. So loads of information, loads of really important maths words there. So I know around a point adds up to 360, because anywhere around a point is going to make a full circle, and a circle is 360 degrees. So the external angle here is going to be 360 take away 108, which is 252 degrees. Work out the sum of 5 reflex angles, so I need just to now multiply this by 5, so 5 times 252 is 1260 degrees. Omar asks Harry, how many lines of symmetry does a pentagon have? Harry assumes it's a regular pentagon, so regular shapes have the same amount of lines of symmetry as their sides. So regular pentagon, 5 sides, 5 lines of symmetry. So draw the line of symmetry, so it's going to be from each corner to the middle of each side. Make sure you use a ruler, make sure you label it up just to be nice and clear. So we've got 5 different lines of symmetry there. Omar then says, what if the pentagon is not regular? Well, it's a bit more of a thinky question. For a pentagon that's not regular, what is true? It could be 0, so if it's totally irregular, it have 0 lines. It could be 1. For example, if you've got a pentagon that looks like you'd draw a house in primary school, well then it would have 1 line of symmetry across there. So it's going to be 0 or 1. Can't have 2, can't have any number up to 5, so it's just going to be 0 or 1 again. Only a 1 mark question there to worry about. Alright, next. 56 customers pay for satellite television. They all have basic package for £28.50 per month. Some then have Sky Sports for £32.50, and then the movie package is £18.25. Sky Sports really is quite expensive, but you know, it's football, so I miss football at the moment. It's very weird on a Saturday night, I have match of the day on. So we have all our numbers here. So 56 people pay the basic, 21 pay for sports. Out of those 21, 7 also have movies. 35 don't pay for sports, but 27 of them do have movies. So we've now got to use this information to work out in total how much do the people pay. So the basic package, we've got 56 people at £28.50, so I'm using a calculator, that's 1,596. Sports, so the sports, there's 21, which is there, times 32.50, which is £682.50. Movies, so the people that have movies, it's these 7 and these 27, so in total 34. Very easy just to forget about that, we'll just get a bit confused at this point. So in total, 7 and 27, 34 pay for movies. 34 times 18.25 is £620.50. So therefore the total, add my 3 values together and I get £2,899. Right, Zoe is thinking of a number. 2/5 of 80 equals 1/2 of her number. So we've got a little bit of fraction work to do here. So 2/5 of 80, the word of in maths just can be substituted for multiply. So 2/5 times by 80 is 32. Just type that into your calculator and get it. Or if you wish, you could do 80 divided by 5, which would find 1/5, and then double it to find 2/5. Either way, it's 32. So I know 32 is half of a number. So if half of the number is 32, so if you imagine that visual representation, so there's 1/2 your number, which is 32, therefore the other half would also have to be 32, so therefore the full number, 32 times 2, or add 32 to 32, we get a whole number of 64. Okay, on a journey, Laura sees 30 vehicles. Probably on a journey at the moment, you're not going to see very many at all, are you? No vehicles on the roads. Each vehicle is a car, a van, or a lorry. She draws this bar chart, so vehicles seen, blah 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 blah. Make 2 criticisms, so they've got to be different because it's worth 2 marks, so I can't write the same thing twice. So criticism just means mistakes, errors, things that are not right in it. So there's 3 potential different ones we could say. So unequal gaps between the bars, first of all, because the gap there and the gap there isn't equal. You should always have equal width bars and equal gaps between the bars with discrete data. Criticism 2, it tells you up here there's 30 vehicles. Well, that's 14, that's 4, and that's 10. That only adds up to 28, doesn't add up to 30, so she's missing some from somewhere. So Laura can't count. Also, you could have said there's no key, as it doesn't say what letters mean. So we know from here that it's car, van, and lorry. But if you were just given this bar chart, CVL, you could surmise that it means car, van, and lorry. But you should really, if you're going to use a code, have a key on, say, C equals car, V equals van, L equals lorry, etc., etc. Number 12. A drawing has a scale of 1 to 30, so that means the drawing is 30 times smaller than in reality, or reality is 30 times bigger. So 1 centimetre is worth 30 centimetres in real life. A bedroom is a rectangle measuring 8 centimetres by 12, so if you imagine that's 8 centimetres, 12 centimetres, not drawn to scale, etc. So it's going to be 30 times bigger in real life. So 8 times by 30 is 240 centimetres or 2.4 metres. 12 times 30 is 360, 3.6 metres. So the area, bear in mind this was in centimetres squared, so I'm going to leave these in centimetres as well. We've got 240 times 360 because area rectangle is length times by width. 240 times by 360 gives you 86,400. Which is also conveniently the number of seconds in a day, because that's 24 times 3,600. So therefore 86,400 is greater than the kitchen, which was 85,000, so the bedroom has the greater area. Right, question 13. We've got 2 similar shapes. Similar shapes just means one is an enlargement of the other. So the relationships between the sides, same, just to get from there to there, we have a fixed scale factor. So the length of edges A to the length of edges B is 2 to 7. So for every 2 here, you've got 7 here. Basically, this is 3.5 times bigger. That's basically how you can put it. So if this is a perimeter of 210, 2 to 210 is 7 to something. Well, you've got to multiply by 55 there. So 2 times 55 gives you obviously 110, and then 7 times 55 gives you 385. If you can't spot that straight away, 110 divided by 2 gives you the 55 there. So therefore this is going to be 385. As I said, the other way, think about it, to get from 2 to 7 you multiply by 3.5. So if we did 110 times by 3.5, you'd also get that 385 there. Right, there are 135 passengers on a plane. Lots of information to put into this Venn diagram here. So 5 of the passengers in business class are flying for the first time. In total there are 15 passengers in business class. 1/3 of the passengers not bold, so it's important, in business class flying for the first time. That just means universal sets of the passengers on the plane. B stands for business class, F stands for first time. Complete the Venn diagram. So 5 of the passengers in business class are flying for the first time, so straight away I can put 5 in the middle there. In total there are 15 passengers in business class, so if there's already 5 that are flying for the first time and there's 15 in the circle in total, 15 take away 5 means there must be 10 there. We then know 1/3 of the passengers not in business class are flying for the first time, so we've got 15 already, we've got 135 in total. 135 passengers, take away the 15 we've got here, leaves me with 120. So 1/3 of those 120, which is 120 divided by 3, flying for the first time, so that's 40. So 40 must go in there, so they're first timers that are not business class. Therefore we have all of these added up, take off the 135, leaves me with 80 passengers must be on the outside. That's the one that a lot of people miss out. You've got to put the remainder on the outside. They're not in either of the two circles, but they're still included in the diagram. We then have a bit of a follow-up question. One of the passengers is chosen at random. Write down the probability, so we're just going to stick to giving it as a fraction. That's easy. Please don't give these as ratios. Easier just sticking it as a fraction. So the passenger is flying for the first time, so in total, if you look back at that diagram, we've got 5 and 40, so in total in the flying first time we've got 45 out of the 135 passengers in total. No need to simplify that fraction down. In this case probability is fine, just like that, but you could if you wanted. A line has the equation y equals x add 5, so whatever x is, we're going to add 5 to it to get to y. So write down the coordinates of the point where the line intersects the x-axis. Now, to answer this question properly, we need to realise that the x-axis is just the line of y equals 0, because anywhere on the x-axis, your coordinate of y is going to be 0. So, if we substitute in here, 0 equals x plus 5, so take 5 off both sides, you must have x equals minus 5, so we've got minus 5, 0. Then inversely we've got the y-axis. The y-axis is just the line of x equals 0, because anywhere up this line here, x is just going to be a coordinate to 0. So we put 0 in this time, so 0 add 5, so y is going to be equal to 5, so we've got 0, 5 there. Alright, question 16. Graph below is used to convert between temperature in degrees and temperature in Celsius. Centigrade, a lot of people would call it. Centigrade, obviously based on water, goes from 0 freezing point to 100 boiling point. We can convert, first of all, 40 degrees Fahrenheit into degrees Celsius. So we're going to find 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is there. We're going to draw a straight line up and then a straight line across using our ruler, and we get to about 4.5-ish on the degrees Celsius. The next follow-up bit then says, at a temperature T, the number of degrees Celsius is double the number of degrees Fahrenheit. The graph of C equals 2F can be drawn to help find this temperature. So back on the grid, we've got to draw this. So we've already got 1 point, minus 25 and minus 50. The other obvious points are just the in-between. So minus 25, 0, 25. So I'm just going to double it each time. So that doubles to minus 50, 0 doubles to 0, 25 doubles to 30. So we can then draw the line, which is this blue line here. So we start at minus 25, minus 50. We go through 0, 0, and then we go up to 25, 50. Use your graph to estimate the value of t. So I am looking now for the bit where these two graphs cross each other. So they cross each other at this point here. So you're then reading from your graph, so that's minus 10. So that's going to be minus 12 here. So it is about minus 12 in the Fahrenheit, which means in the Celsius, the centigrade, it's about minus 24. So I've put down minus 24 from the graph. Technically, the exact value is minus 24.615384 recurring, but you know, it's all about just reading it from your graph, and as long as you've got that rough area. Make sure also though you give it in what it's asked for. It's asked for degrees Celsius, so if I'd put minus 12 down there, I wouldn't be right, because it's asking for what it is in the degrees C. Question 17. We've got a bag with some 10p, 20p and 50p coins. It tells me there are 2 more 20p coins and 10p coins, so it's very nicely just expressed that for us already. So if there's n 10p coins, n plus 2, because there's 2 more add. 9 fewer, so again it's helped you by putting it in bold, so fewer would be subtract, so n subtract 9. So that's our mark for filling in the table there. Then tells me altogether there are 80 coins. Work out the total value of the 20p coin. The word value is important in a bit. So if I add all this together, n plus 2 plus n minus 9. If I simplify that, n and n is 3n. 2 subtract 9 is subtract 7. So I've got 3n take away 7 equals 80. I'm then going to solve it. Add 7 onto both sides. So that gives me 3n equals 87. Divide 87 by 3 is 29, because 29 times 3 is 87. So I know that there are 29 10p's, I know there's 31 20p's, and I know there are 20 50p's. So we then got to make sure we do answer the question. So 31 20p's, so I'm not just going to leave it at this point. The value means how much money have I got there. So 31 20p's gives me £6.20. Again, make sure you've got the right units. You could have put 620 pence, but it's £6.20 because the pound sign is already there. Right, 18. A force of 100 newtons, N, is applied to the surface of the triangle. Work out the pressure. Use pressure equals force divided by area. So I'm told the force, it's fine, I've got that there. I've got to work the area. Well, it's a triangle. Triangle area is half times base times height, because every triangle, it doesn't matter what the triangle looks like, every triangle is always just half of the rectangle around it. So my rectangle would be 10 times 8, so therefore my triangle is half of 10 times 8, so it's going to be 40 centimetres squared. Then put it into the formula here, so force divided by area, so I've got 100 divided by 40 using my calculator, which gives me 2.5 newtons per centimetre squared. Question 19, just a quick one marker. In a sport, just a random sport, not much information there really, is it? Just a random sport. I really miss football. I think I've said that already, but yeah. I miss food as well. I miss eating out in restaurants. I like food. Food's good. I had like a long think about my dream menu yesterday. I think I probably said this in a previous video as well, but it would definitely include steak. It definitely includes tiramisu. I think some of the rest of it's up for grabs, but yeah, definitely steak with a side of some type of like pizza. Steak with a side of pizza. I'm not sure whether you're allowed to do that, but yeah, good if I would. Alright, so directly proportional means it's straight line. So 0 wins, 0 points, etc. It's going to be a straight line. So on the axis, sketch a graph to show this relationship. We've just got to draw a straight line. That's all you've got to realise about this question. A directly proportional graph means that it's going to be a straight line through that origin. Obviously, it can't not go through, because you get 0 wins. Well, how can you get any points? So it has to go through 0, 0 there. Right, question 20. We have now got our loci question, all about the location of stuff. So using ruler and compass, so it gives you a clue that it's going to be a loci question. Show the region inside the grid that is less than 4 centimetres from A and nearer to B than C, and label that region R. So first of all, I'm going to get my compass, and I'm going to draw a 4 centimetre circle. Obviously, depending on the photocopy, it might be different, but this is supposed to be a centimetre square grid. So there is my 4 centimetre circle there. So it's got to be within that circle. So whenever you've got closer or further from a point, you're always going to have a circle around that point. Nearer to B than C. If you want nearer to one point than another, we're going to do a perpendicular bisector. So perpendicular bisector is basically using your compass to create a perpendicular right-angled line that splits them in half exactly. So to do that, we put our compass on that point, we open it up to over halfway, and we draw a big arc, and then we, without changing our compass, we put on the other end, again draw a big arc, and we end up with a cross. I mean, I could have had the whole arcs there, but I've just got the cross above and below. I'm then just going to draw a nice line that goes all the way through that. So I want it on this side of the line because it's got to be closer to B than it is to C. So it's within the circle and on that side of the line. So as you can see, I've just shaded in this, and obviously it told me to label the region R. Time on 25 minutes now. Beth drives 300 miles in 6 hours. She drives the first 36 miles on average speed of 72 miles an hour. Naughty Beth, that's above the speed limit. Work out her average speed for the rest of the journey. I'm not sure whether exam papers should be encouraging people to drive above the speed limit, but never mind. So speed equals distance over time, or if we cover over from our triangle, time is distance over speed. So distance divided by speed, 36 divided by 72 is 0.5. I can just use your calculator to check that. So that means she's took half an hour to cover that first 36 miles, which makes sense because if you're doing 72 in a whole hour, 36 would take you half an hour. So 300 take away 36 means she's got 264 miles left to go. 6 hours take away 30 minutes is 5.5 hours, 5.5 hours left to go. So now we're going to work out the average speed for the rest of her journey. So speed equals distance over time. So that's 264 divided by 5.5 on our calculator, which gives us 48 miles per hour for the rest of the journey. So maybe she kind of like nearly got caught by a speed camera and decided to do the rest of the journey nice and slowly. Right, question 22. So we've got diagram shows rectangle ABDE, so ABDE, and right angle triangle ABC. AC equals 10, BC equals 6, BC to CD is 1 to 2. So the relationship between this and this is one part, this is two part. Work out the area of rectangle ABD. So first of all, we're going to label up this as 12, because if this bit is one part and CD is two part, this means this bit is double. So if that's 6, doubles to 12, which means the whole width of that rectangle is going to be 18 as 6 add 12. We then need to work out the area. We need the height, the width, however you want to call it, but this dimension here, A to B or E to D. The only way to do that, because we've got a right angle triangle, because we're looking for a side, it's got to be Pythagoras. So Pythagoras is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Because we're looking for a short side, I'm going to take away, so C squared, 10 squared, take away 6 squared, 10 squared take away 6 squared is 100, take away 36, which is 64. B squared is 64, therefore B is going to be 8, because the square root of 64 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So finally now I've got a dimension of 8, a dimension of 18. Area of a rectangle is length times width. 8 times by 18 is 144 centimetres squared. In a sport, again, they don't like naming sports, do they? You just said in a sport. That's the second time they said that now. Injury time is added time played at the end of the match. Yes. The table shows the injury time played in 300 matches. So we've got 33 matches, 0 to 2 minutes, all the way up to 13 matches had 8 to 10 minutes injury time. Circle the two words. Again, it's labelled up in bold, therefore we must make sure we label two of them that describe the data. So we've got continuous or discrete, can't be both those, and grouped or ungrouped. So you've got to choose one from there and one from there. Well, this one's really easy. It's grouped, it's in groups, it's 0 to 2. It's not giving you distinct values, it's just grouped it up. Continuous means it's a measurement. Time is a measurement. You can measure time. Discrete stuff that you count. You can count how many socks are in a drawer. You can count how many sandwiches, how many cars are a certain colour. You measure time, therefore it's a continuous type of data. Which class interval, that just means which group, contains the median. Median means the middle. So we've got 300 matches in total. Divide that by 2, that means 150 in each half. So I'm looking for the in between the 150 and the 151st piece of data. 150.5 data. That doesn't really sound right, but that's what you're looking for. So we only reached 33 there. If I add another 51, I've only reached 84 there. So somewhere in this group of the 186 that was in the group will be the 150th and the 151st piece of data. So therefore my median group is going to be 4 to 6. That's nearly at the end of some blank pages. So question 23. This is still talking about that previous question. So what percentage of the match had more than 4 minutes of injury time? So more than 4, there was 186, then there was 17, and then there was 30. So 216 of the matches had more than, again it's in bold there, bold is always going to be important, more than 4 minutes. So 216 divided by 300 on your calculator gives you 0.72. 0.72 multiplied by 100, that represents 72%. X is an integer. Integer just means whole number. So minus 4 is less than or equal to x is less than 1, and 2 is less than or equal to x plus 7 is less than 5. So I'm going to write down first of all the numbers that can be in each group. So number 1, it can be minus 4, it can be minus 3, it can be minus 2, minus 1 and 0. It can't be 1 because there's no equal bit on the inequality there. 2 and then x plus 7 and 5. Well, to get it down to just x, I'm going to have to subtract 7 from each side. So 2 take away 7 is negative 5. Then I've got 5 take away 7, which is negative 2. So it can be equal to minus 5. Minus 4, minus 3 can't be minus 2. So the numbers that it can be from both groups have minus 4, both groups have minus 3. Those are the only two numbers that it could possibly be. Home stretch. Question 25. Joe and Carl share an amount of money in the ratio 9 to something. Joe gets 45% of the money, work out the value of n. So I know it's 9 to something, and I know that 9 represents 45%. Well, if one person gets 45%, 100 take away 45 gives me 55%. So therefore, this person on this other side must be getting 55%. 55%. I've got to multiply 9 by 5 to get to 45. So something times by 5 has got to give me 55%. 55 divided by 5 gives me 11. So it's got to be 11 on the other side. Other ways to think about it, 45% is 9 out of 20 as a simplified fraction. 9 20ths goes with 11 20ths to make the whole thing. Circle the reciprocal of 5. Well, reciprocal means you essentially flip the numerator and denominator. There's more complicated ways to explain it, but 5 is, as a fraction, 5 wholes. It's 5 over 1. So if we flip it, we get 1/5. 1/5 out of these, well, it's definitely not that, definitely not that, definitely not that. It has to be 0.2, but the reason it's 0.2 is 1 divided by 5. Because if you think 10 divided by 5 is 2, 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2. That's really bad 5 there, never mind. Right. And the last page. So we have x to y is 3 to 1. Ooh, camera just flipped out there a little bit. So we've got y. This is the bit that a lot of people put. You put them on the same time. You put 3x and 1y. It doesn't work like that because actually the y is the smaller one. So it's actually 3 lots of the y is the same as 1 lot of the x. So if you say that 3 lots of y is the same as 1 lot of the x, rearrange it to get y 1x divided by 3. So you got x over 3. Linear sequence just means equal steps. So these are going up in 5s because 6 to 11, 11 to 16, etc. Because it's up in 5s, it's 5n. 5n is just a way of expressing your 5 times table. So 5, 10, 15, 20. To get from my 5 times table to 6, 11, 16, 21, I have to add 1 on every time. So my sequence is just going to be 5n add 1. Right, and we are done in a record-breaking 34.5 minutes. Right, I hope you found that useful. A lot of people found that paper the hardest of the 3 on foundation. It was the same when last year's Year 11 did that version, a similar type of paper with obviously different numbers, etc. They found that one really hard as well, so there was some trickier stuff in it, so it was more difficult than paper 1 or 3, but hopefully from what we've just gone through, a lot of it makes sense. So I've got one more foundation paper to upload from the mocks now, and then we'll go on to a different type of video. Hopefully you find this useful. If you've got any questions, again, contact your individual math teacher at your own schools, or go onto the Maths Instagram, Spencer Academy's Maths, or leave any questions in the comments. Stay safe. Thank you very much.